Welcome to Avenues of Awakening, and this is one of my avenues of awakening is some coffee. Excuse me. And I just spilled it everywhere. Brilliant. There's a feeling to me that there's this major transformation that's taking place right now. It feels like a fundamental shift in the spiritual realm to me. There's a sadness that I've felt is emerging in people's hearts. And it comes from a recognition of something that's happening. And it's been exacerbated. It's been made worse by the COVID situation. It's been accelerated. There's always something underneath that, but let's talk about the more surface level first, which is, I don't know what the opposite of communion would be. Like when you have communion, it is a joining, right? A merging, a coming together. And so I hate to even say the words like isolation or alienation. It feels like a spiritual alienation is how it feels to me. So a lot of my spiritual friends that I've talked to said they've felt disconnected in a way they're not used to. People who have had a long-term practice or have kind of leaned into the spiritual realms have told me they've felt more isolated than they're used to and like unable to receive the usual comfort and solace they would get from just being able to sit quietly, feeling a connection, right? So I was talking with my friend yesterday about what's going on, and it's too easy just to ascribe this to COVID, right? I think that is part of the explanation. That's the very surface level. That's just the very, okay, we're all stuck at home, or all the stuff we're used to is offline. But I think what's going on is deeper than that. And to me, COVID is just a representation of something we'd already seen or felt was happening, right? And that to me feels like the dissolution, the falling apart, the entropy, almost like just something spreading apart and spreading apart and spreading apart, that feels like antithetical to a wholesome kind of existence, right? And so it feels like we're on this trajectory, we're on a train, or we're on a vector, I like that word, heading in a direction that feels like something's just doing this, like spreading apart, right? And like as we spread apart, it just feels like you're almost like on like the classic thing of like a piece of ice that breaks apart and you're kind of drifting apart from each other. And like you see this happening, but you also feel helpless to do anything about it, right? It's like, oh my, like, no, like this isn't what I wanted. And you just feel this like, oh. It's like, oh my God, this fabric is pulling apart somehow is how it feels, right? And yet we don't know what to do about it. There's a poignancy about that. And yet within that, we're becoming aware of that, right? As we feel this happening, we're like, this is not the direction we need to be going in anymore. So what does it mean to respond to that in a way that is creating the seed for the next era, right? It feels like we're in a changing of an era is how I feel right now. It's like we need to round a corner into a new opening. And so, I think if anyone had the complete answer, we would be doing it. But it is a sense, we're simultaneously, I'm losing the thread here. We're coming out of an old situation and need to find a new way. That's the point, right? And so part of what I want to be doing is talking with people about what is a new way that's going to restore a wholesomeness to how we relate to each other. And we know that the previous momentum is not going to cut it anymore. It's just not. And it's going to take some work, and it's going to take some insight, right? Let's say you have a change of heart, or we go through something traumatic like COVID. That's going to affect everyone's heart, and then that's going to reflect in society and how we relate to each other. So that's what I'm talking about. How does spiritual work reflect in and engage in social movement and social transformation? So thanks for watching. We'll continue having this conversation. That's just basically an introduction to some of what we're going to be doing. But I want you guys to think about this and see if any of you also feel like I've been feeling, and some of my friends, in terms of just this kind of like in this shift that we're going through. So let's keep talking about that. Thanks. We'll see you next time on Avenues of Awakening.